your evaluation after watching the film?
Evaluation of the whole game?
Not play-by-play, but just overall evaluation of what, anything stick out that maybe you didn't initially see?
Well, first off, I can't believe the weather held off. That was the most amazing thing to me. I would have bet against that, but I was told by my wife that we were going to dodge it. So she's pretty good with the weather. And then really excited about the turnout. You know, anytime you have a game on Labor Day and you're playing an FCS opponent and there's a big storm predicted, and I think it was announced about 45,000 people, you know, in the stadium. So I was pleased with the turnout. It wasn't a packed house, but pretty good based on the circumstances, and really want to thank all the students that came out. I thought we had a great turnout from the Ross State Brigade and the student body. So that was a lot of fun. It was a fun game. I think our team had great preparation for the game. I'm not surprised to see them play as hard as they did. One of the things about this team that really sticks out to me is the way they practice. They do a great job competing against one another, and they have really competed. They really competed hard throughout the course of camp, and they're competing against good players, and they compete against themselves. There's a lot of talent on our football team, and we were very well prepared from an effort standpoint and an intensity standpoint. I thought it was a great collective effort from our team. I don't know the exact numbers, but a lot of the first points scored in the game Saturday were by guys that aren't on scholarship. Obviously, Sam McCarthy, kicking the extra points, and then Landon Feitner with his pick six, and then Freitag, guys that scored points for us early in the game, or guys that weren't even on scholarship. And we played a lot of players. We went into the game thinking that we had enough firepower on both sides of the ball to be able to rotate guys in and keep them fresh and really extend ourselves some, So I thought it was a great collective effort. We are certainly a much more disciplined football team now than we have been, and I think that's going to impact our team in our season. I thought that our team took the fight to them, that they were excited about playing. They damn sure want to win. I can tell by that, by the way they practiced and the way they played. They were challenged at halftime. We had a good lead, a comfortable lead at the half, and they were challenged by their head coach and the assistant coaches as far as their level of play in the second half. That would be an indication of a lot of things about our team. Number one, we a team with some killer instinct about us. When we have a team down, will we keep them down? Will we have a let up because we were ahead? All those things were challenged, to our football team. And then I think it was really important that we went out there and played hard the whole 60 minutes, particularly in the second half, because we needed to get those game speed and those game reps. That's fantastic conditioning. I think we're better prepared now going into the game against Notre Dame because we played 60 minutes hard yesterday and not just a half of a football game. So I was pleased with the performance of our football team from the beginning to the end, from an effort standpoint. Defensively, we hit a lot of our goals defensively. I did not hit all of our goals defensively, which is huge. We did not have a penalty on the defensive side of the ball. That was big for us. 4 or 5 times there were some sudden change situations. I think there were 4 times there was a sudden change where we turned the ball over and put our defense on the field, and 4 times in a row our defense was able to turn Eastern's offense away. I thought that showed some real resilience by our defensive football team and some guys that wanted to keep the opponent out of the end zone. There's some things that we can do better defensively, but I thought from the standpoint of going out there and executing the foundation of the new defense. I think probably the best way to put it. I think that was very evident on Saturday that the players went out there and executed the foundation of the defense and the base defense and what it is that our defensive staff is installing and hanging their hat on. There's a lot of standards that we try to measure from a defensive standpoint, and I think the defensive players went out there and really tried to meet all of those standards. We were lined up on time every time. We'd like to be lined up on time and right every time, and we were not lined up right a couple of times, but only a couple of times, and that's pretty good, in your first game. And I thought that the intensity across the line of scrimmage was good. There were some players that I thought really laid their ears back and played their best games. Guys like Ryan Russell, Brandon Taylor, Landon Feitner. A lot of guys really played well on Saturday, so I was very pleased with the defensive effort. Offensively, scored a lot of points, and manufactured a lot of yards. I think that we played fast on offense, but not near as fast as we can. Defensively, I thought we were maybe a little fresher, and maybe a little faster defensively on Saturday than we were offensively. But I think that we can still be, there's a lot of room for improvement on the offensive side of the ball still, but manufactured a lot of points and a lot of yards. I protected the quarterback a lot better. I think we, depends on who's counting it, but we don't believe we gave a sack up Saturday. We had one time that Robert kind of collapsed in the backfield some. I think statistically that was counted as a rush, but one of our goals going into the game was to come out without a sack. You know, often always the line did a good job. Guys made plays. Our receivers played much better. They were more precise on the routes. They caught the ball a lot much better. They blocked a little bit better in the perimeter. We still have some work to do, but I thought there were a lot of good things on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously still some room for improvement, but we have some real firepower. I thought our team did a good job of not wavering, you know, through the adversity. You know, obviously we went into the game, you know, announcing right before the game that, or the day before the game, the evening before the game, they realized that the #1 quarterback wasn't going to be permitted to play in the opening game, and I thought they did a good job of not wavering and handling that adversity. You know, but again, we've rotated quarterbacks in and out of the huddle throughout the course of camp. So, you know, good things, I thought, on both sides of the ball. And then special teams, we did some things well. We made some mistakes. So we muffed the punt. I thought Thomas Meadows did a good job kicking the ball off. You know, distance-wise, he has a lot of distance on the ball. He has good hang time on the ball. And he has been very accurate with his kick location. So accurate, we're trying to kick it down there and him it down there close, you know, in the corner down there near the boundary, and he kicked a couple out of bounds, you know, and he'll learn from that. But overall, I was pleased with his kickoffs, other than the 2 that went out of bounds. But you know, he has to learn. He has great potential there. We had a punt blocked, unfortunately. We only punted 1 time. That's a good thing, but we got it blocked. And I wasn't sure, looking at the replay on the Jumbotron, you know, exactly where the error was at. I was afraid that the shield had lined up too deep to where the punter was at, and that allowed the rush to get close. But actually, the punter had lined up too close to the shield, and there's not a lot of margin for error there. He was about a yard off, and the shield should have stepped up and about a yard more than where they were lined up at. And if that would have happened, then we'd have easily protected our punter. That was not a very complicated rush. It was more not aligning properly by a yard is why we got it blocked. They never really got much pressure through the shield. The yard is huge. Kickoff return wise, we had a chance to take one at the house. A good looking return on film. I think we brought it out close to midfield somewhere, so Raheem had a good return. The blocked extra point on us, I thought for the most part we did pretty good with our protection. We had some guys that were blocking down hard to the inside gap, and they moved their outside leg, you know, and that's one of the don'ts on PAT and field goal protection. You keep your outside foot planted, and we didn't do that a couple of times. They were really good at rushing the PATs and field goals. They come out with an all-out rush, and they would put a couple guys in a gap, and you had to extend yourself to get down in that gap and block, but you have to keep your outside foot planted so we can get that corrected. But there were some good things special teams-wise. You know, obviously made some mistakes, and we'll get them corrected, but came out of the game feeling really good about our football team, and the fact that they played hard the second half and finished was really important on Saturday. And hats off to Eastern Kentucky University, because even the last plays of the game, they were still playing hard, even though the game was out of reach, and you know, we had obviously taken it to them to some degree. They were still playing hard. So a good game in a lot of ways, and a big win for our football team, and a win that we really needed.
You mixed some guys up on the offensive line with Pamphile and Kitchen. Seemed like they were, I don't know if alternating every series, but it seemed like they were kind of taking snaps, maybe sharing snaps.
We're trying to rotate them, and I thought that was important in the first game, to try to get both those guys playing time, to see, you know, where it was at, who might be further ahead or not. And they probably played very similar. Trevor Foy's a little bit further ahead with his performance, so we felt very good about him at the right tackle position. Kitchens coming off of a shoulder surgery, in my mind, that's about as much as we wanted him to play in the first game. So rotating those 2 guys at the left tackle spot worked out good for us Saturday, and I anticipate doing it some again this Saturday. It was good. Both those guys did very well, and both those guys can play that spot. I don't see any drop off one compared to the other right now.
You were able to do that with Devin Smith and Cody Davis as well, although Cody played both guard spots too. Were you just trying to get a feel for kind of everyone and you want to maybe have more consistent group going forward, or you think you can rotate like that every game?
Well, that was the plan going in. The plan going in was that, to rotate at the left tackle spot for the reasons that we had just talked about.
Right.
And then we've left Devin at the right guard spot as much as we possibly could because he's newer to the offense than Cody. And then also to try to create some kind of continuity, on the offensive line. So we've left Devin at the right guard spot a lot more. And then, obviously Peter's Dry struggled some with a back injury last year, and we want to make sure that he lasts throughout the course of the entire season. So rotating Cody a little bit more at the left guard spot in practice and in the games is a way to play better at the left guard position, and also to preserve Peter's drive some throughout, maybe duration-wise, throughout the course of the season. So there was some method to the madness, but we really wanted to keep Devin and Smith in there at the right guard spot to try to create some continuity, particularly from the right guard, center, right guard, and right tackle positions. We're able to create more continuity at those three positions right now.
You went punt return by committee too. Do you anticipate doing that again this Saturday, or have you kind of narrowed down who you want to put back there?
So we'll take a look and see throughout the course of the week. We're going to compete. I think all those guys. Ricardo had a nice return. He hasn't been quite as consistent catching the ball in practice as Josh has, or as consistent as Frankie has. Obviously, Frankie made a poor decision on his punt return. He tried to field the ball that he was not in position to field, and the result was not a good thing. We'll make a decision towards the end of the week. Sometimes who we play and the style of offenses that they play might dictate who is getting a lot of reps from scrimmage on the defensive side of the ball, and that could be a factor some in who we decide returns punts, if that makes any sense at all. But we got three guys back there that I like, even though Frankie didn't field his. I still think he's an awfully good punt returner.
Caleb will be back at practice tomorrow?
Caleb will be back at practice tomorrow and fully reinstated, absolutely.
Any idea how you'll divide those reps up yet?
Well, we'll probably stay the course like we have throughout the course of camp. We've rotated those guys a bunch. Obviously, Caleb has been number one and really outperformed both of the other quarterbacks hands down throughout the course of camp. He makes good decisions and really manages the offense really well. And Rob Henry is kind of where Robert Marv was in some ways last year. At least he was in camp, but only coming back off of one knee surgery, not two. So not quite as severe as Robert, but he was able to go some on some days, and some days he couldn't. So he was limited reps wise, like Robert Marv was early in the season last year. And I think Henry's recovery will be a lot faster. But you could tell when we put Rob Henry out in the game on Saturday, you could tell he hadn't been out there a whole lot. First time he'd been tackled in a while. And as the game went on and the longer he played, he got used to the speed of it again and started playing a lot better. But we've been rotating those guys a bunch throughout the course of camp based on health of Rob Henry, Robert Marv, keeping him fresh, and Caleb as well. So we'll probably rotate them similar throughout the course of the week. Whether or not the performance of Robert Marv on Saturday or Caleb's one-game suspension is going to be what shakes up the depth chart or not necessarily. We're going to do what it takes, playing the players on the football team that puts us in the best position to win. And it may be that it's best for us to go into South Bend and make sure that we manage the offense really well and that we don't create any negative plays. If that means that Caleb Turbush starts and Marv finishes, and so be it. If it means that Marv starts and Turbush finishes, so be it. But we're going to play them or the best services our football team gives us the best chance to win in South Bend.
Just with the turnovers, you went through this drill before where it kind of festered at times. And just to get a quick handle on them this week, how important is that as you go into this next game?
Well, we can't turn it over 4 or 5 times against Notre Dame and think we're going to win. They're a good football team, and that's a tough place to play. That was a good day to get those things out of your system, if you will. I think the fact that you can turn the ball over that many times and have the screw-ups that we had in special teams and still win big like that, I think is a good sign for our football team. And I like the fact that when those things happened, our team never really wavered. They just kept playing hard. Those things, Frankie, poor decision. You learn a lesson. Marv, he threw he let the ball fall out of his hand running hard one time. Henry, first time he's been tackled in a long time. They sure brought the wood on that play. They really hit him hard, on that play, So those are all things that I think that we can get corrected. We didn't have exchanges with the snap. We didn't have a lot of tip balls. We didn't have people ripping the ball out of our hands a whole lot. Even though we had some turnovers, I don't believe that